The first episode we're going to talk about is Divide and Conquer. In some circles, this is not considered the first episode, but there's a multitude of reasons why we're talking about it here. Firstly, on the seasonal DVD, it's listed as first. Secondly, there are some points where it's clear the team is still finding its footing. In-betweens are weird, the writing isn't up to par, things like that. There is a character in this show that does not show up anywhere else in the series. He shows up once in the comics, but that's it. This is his only on-screen appearance. He doesn't get any lines, and he's never mentioned again. This very much confused my 10-year-old brain, but we'll get to him in a moment. Editing Kit Kat here. In post-production, I realized that I never once went back and addressed this character, so that's what I'm gonna do now. This character's name is Wintergreen, but as I said, he never shows up anywhere else in the series. Slade never addresses him, and he never gets any lines. So I'm not sure how you're supposed to glean that information unless you are a nerd like me and look this stuff up religiously, or are aware of him from the older comics, but there you go. The episode starts things off with a jailbreak. A mute character named Cinderblock is breaking into the prison. Cinderblock is one of 3 recurring characters in the series. As far as we can tell, he can't speak, aside from grunts, and usually isn't portrayed as being very intelligent, probably stemming from the fact that he's made out of concrete. We don't know much about his backstory, but he's one of 3 low-tier bad guys that other more competent villains will get to do their dirty work. Cinderblock is breaking into the prison to rescue another member of this grunt work trio named Plasmus. We do know a little more about Plasmus than we do about Cinderblock that we can glean from context clues. Plasmus has some sort of condition where when he's asleep, he's human, but whenever he wakes up, he turns into some sort of gooey giant blob monster that eats toxins and raw sewage. Yeah, gross. During the first few minutes of consciousness that he gets between transformations, Plasmus appears to be more or less upstanding, even regretful for things he's done. He appears to resent his monstrous form, at least to some degree, and has no real control over it once it takes over. His being locked in stasis in the prison is for his benefit as well as the public's. Cinderblock breaks into the prison in the only way he knows how, through the walls. The guards' laser bullets don't seem to faze him, and he's able to knock them around like tin soldiers. That's when our Teen Titans arrive. It is in this fight that I would like to draw your attention to the awkwardness of the choreography and animation. Note how each Titan gets their own moment to show off their powers, but don't really seem to be trying very hard to stop this guy. I mean, Beast Boy is literally just pecking at him, and Raven lifts up a piece of the floor and nothing else. This is because this episode was clearly made as an introduction. We don't see this awkwardness later in the series. Any attempts to fight seem to be clearly in an effort to bring down the bad guy. And this moment, right here, where Beast Boy falls on Raven, the animation is just weird. It's always driven me nuts. It wouldn't surprise me at all if I found out this was actually the pilot of the show.
Watch out for falling dinosaurs? I'm gonna leave you alone now.
In any case, due to their inability to bring Cinderblock down, in no small part due to their absolute inability to coordinate attacks, Cyborg and Robin decide to do a combo move that they obviously have not practiced enough, and will never make its way into the series again. They mess it up, presumably because of lack of practice, and Cinderblock gets away. This dissolves into a full-fledged argument, complete with name-calling and fire-spitting.
You have a problem, Tin Man?
Yeah, it's 4 feet tall and smells like cheap hair gel.
Well, you're an oversized klutz and your feet smell like motor oil.
You're bossy, you're rude, you got no taste in music.
Cyborg quits, leaving the rest of the team pretty much reeling for the rest of the episode. See, here's the thing about this being the first episode and all. Because we really don't know the team very well yet, and because it hasn't been demonstrated that they have a strong rapport with each other, this doesn't make as big of an impact as it seems like it should, and in fact does later in the series. We do see the Titans moping around and we see how it affects them, but it doesn't have the gut-wrenching impact that something like this should have. So, the next morning, the Titans are trying to go about their day as normal. Beast Boy is attempting to call Cyborg, but he's not picking up the phone. Here's another thing about this being the first episode. Beast Boy is using a landline phone. This phone never shows up at any other point. Any calls from here on out are made with the Titans communicator. After Beast Boy leaves a very annoyed message on Cyborg's answering machine, Starfire shoves a sticky, goopy substance into his mouth. This is the first instance of Starfire making Tamaranian food that is disgusting to the human palate. Though, according to her, this is one that's supposed to be disgusting. This is the pudding of sadness, a repulsive type of sour stew that is meant to take the mind off bad things that happen. She then moves on to Raven, who is doing a whole lot of nothing on the computers which we never see utilized anywhere else in the series. For all we know, she is just pushing random buttons and making random beeps, pretending to be busy. In true Raven fashion, she lies about being upset about Cyborg's departure, immediately breaking the monitors she was previously working on. Maybe that's why we never see them utilized again. Anyhow, Starfire then tries to approach Robin, but hesitates as clearly he's taking it hard. We then see Robin trying to put on an air, but throughout the day we can see his regret grow. I'm going to pause for a moment to talk about the hierarchy here. We can first use Starfire's response to each of the other members. First, Starfire shoves this concoction into Beast Boy's mouth. Beast Boy gets no say in the matter, and barely gets so much as a moment to react. This is because Beast Boy is lower than Starfire on the hierarchy. As an Omega, Starfire has more authoritative sway over Beast Boy because of her Sigma status, thus pushing Beast Boy into things that she feels would be good for him, whether he likes it or not. Starfire then goes to Raven, who, if we look at the hierarchical list from before, we see is one step above Starfire. Unlike Beast Boy, Starfire does not push the pudding of sadness onto Raven, though she does encourage her to try it. Raven, however, turns her down and Starfire does not push the matter. She then goes to Robin and doesn't even get through her sentence to offer it. She's also much more gentle with her offering than with the others. Some might argue this is because clearly Robin and Cyborg were very close, so she knows how hard this would be on Robin, but I disagree. Yes, Robin is very close with the other members of his team. Throughout the whole series, he can be seen having a moment with almost every one of them. But Cyborg and Beast Boy are clearly much closer friends with each other than Robin. So, while I do feel Robin is feeling the guilt as being the reason Cyborg left and feeling a little bitter about losing a friend, I believe part of Starfire's hesitance is because of Robin's ranking as Alpha. 3 whole ranks above her. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is a conscious or explicit choice due to this reason, but it is something to notice and think about. Robin, meanwhile, as I said, does not show any signs of being particularly intimate friends with Cyborg throughout the rest of the series. I think the reason he is taking the loss particularly hard is A, because he does feel he's to blame, and B, because Cyborg is his second in command. So there is a level of trust and support there that still hurts to lose. Crime waits for no man, though, as Plasmus finally makes his appearance, eating from the buffet at a chemical plant in town. The Titans, sans one, shows up to fight, but finds he's a little too much for them to handle by themselves. Just as Robin is about to turn into the Joker, a friendly hand reaches out from above and rescues him, offering forgiveness. Together, Robin and Cyborg are able to do their ultra special move correctly and successfully bring down Plasmus. With the villain taken care of and all forgiven, this episode leaves on a cliffhanger of whatever happened to Wintergreen and why is Slade so unable to control his anger here. Who is this shadowy figure pulling all these strings? Woo! I find this episode to be mediocre at best. It's a fun watch once in a while, but the awkwardness does kind of put me off a bit. I will put it on occasionally, but it's not one that I watch often. So, in a ranking, I would put it at a C. Meh. Thanks for joining me on this fun little romp. Next episode, episode 2, Sisters.